Hello, and welcome to the American Council on Exercise live webinar continuing education series. My name is Jackie Crockford. I will be your host for today's live presentation. Thank you so much for joining us. You are joining us via YouTube, so let's go over a few things you need to know before we get started with today's presentation. If you have any questions throughout today's presentation, use your YouTube chat bar to type in any questions that you have for me, maybe if you're having technical issues, or if you have questions for our presenter, we will take a little bit of time to take those questions at the end of today's webinar. Also, if you would like to receive CECs for today's presentation, once again, you're watching today for free, so no CECs are awarded. However, if you would like to purchase this recorded course, you can do so by using the link provided on the screen. That's acefitness.org/pastwebinars. The course will be available within the next 48 hours, and after you receive the recorded version in your MyAce account, you can take the quiz, and when you pass the quiz, you'll receive 0.1 CECs within your MyAce account. All right, if you're ready to get started with today's presentation, let's go. Welcome to your course, Strength in Numbers, the Power of Group Weight Management Programs. My name is Jackie Crockford, and I will be your host for today's presentation. Joining me today is our presenter, Angel Chelik. Angel.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, thanks for watching, everyone.
Good. So you've been a friend of ACE for a very long time.
Yes.
And we're happy to have you back.
Thank you.
So today you're going to be talking kind of from a health coaching perspective about how to work with groups. And I know that you work with a very kind of specific group.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that and kind of what we're going to get into today.
Yes, one of the roles that I have in the fitness industry is I teach at a community college here in San Diego in the Health and Exercise Science department. And a class that I teach every semester is called Lifetime Fitness Weight Management. So this is a hybrid class where every day we do exercise, but there's also a lecture component where we focus on the cognitive and the behavioral side of health coaching and changing habits and making our students healthier and happier.
Great. So we're going to get into that today and learn about how to work with maybe smaller groups or larger groups of people, and so that we can, as health coaches, personal trainers, or maybe even group fitness instructors, kind of help our clients change their behaviors.
Absolutely. If you are working at a studio or a fitness facility, the 6-week, 8-week challenges are really popular right now.
Yeah.
So what you're going to see today is kind of just a little spin on that.
Okay.
And hopefully you can gather some information and take what you feel is fitting and purposeful for you and your group.
Great. Sounds good. Let's get started.
All right. Thanks. As a ACE professional, whether you're a group fitness, health coach, personal trainer, you are tasked with helping your clients and your group members start to understand why they should be making some positive changes, some healthy positive changes. Not only do you have to help them realize that, but you're also tasked with helping them adhere to the program and to those habits. So that's a challenging task. We live in a country where our obesity rates continue to climb. Only 23% of Americans are meeting the daily exercise guidelines. So clearly there's a disconnect with our participants and our members on why they should be changing. So that's why I wanted to create this webinar for you, to give you some insight into how to create a program that's meaningful, that's engaging, that has some homework for the participants so that they can buy in to you and your advice and your education and your content. So throughout this hour, we're going to have several objectives that we're going to be covering. So you can take a look at your slide. And we'll be looking at current research trends in group training and how it can increase program adherence. We'll determine the most effective types of assessments for weight management groups. We'll design group workouts that are appropriate for clients dealing with weight management issues. And we'll apply strategies to encourage group members to provide positive feedback to each other. As I mentioned, it's challenging to get members to participate and adhere to group management programs or group weight loss programs. But we know that with as little as 5% reduction in body fat, body composition, our clients can see really positive health outcomes. So let's look at some research that shows us why these group programs are what we should be doing to help these people. Now, this first slide is going to look at a meta-analysis that included 27 different studies that looked at traditional models of weight loss and nutritional intervention strategies. And what the authors found were that when people participated in supervised programs that tracked and monitored the attendance, they were 65% more likely to adhere to the program than those people who were self-monitoring their progress. So later on, we'll be talking about how we're going to be tracking our participants, but just remember this. Having some type of tracker for attendance is really valuable. I give my students a point for every time they attend class. They get points for doing outside workouts on the weekend. They get points for putting pictures of their healthy food on Instagram. So know that that can be an accountable way to keep the people engaged in your program. The second one is that we know that there is higher adherence when there's some type of social support network. And that social support network could be doing group sessions, it might be peer coaching, doing social contracts, buddy systems. Having somebody working with you is going to allow you to adhere more to the program. And the research showed that people will be 37% more likely to maintain their weight loss if they were in a supervised, guided program. And when it comes to this social support, doing this weight loss program with a family member is even better. A study in the meta-analysis looked at when participants did the program with a family member and those that did it alone. And 6 months following the program, the people that did it with a family member were more likely to have sustained their weight loss. So yes, another thumbs up to getting people to work together and utilize each other during the sessions. The last one in the meta-analysis was looking at whether people were going to adhere to a program if it was just based on nutrition or if it was just based on exercise programming. And what they found were that people were more likely to adhere to a program if they were just doing the nutritional element. But the authors did note to lead with caution because those people were self-reporting their data and they may have had poor recall in estimating when and how much they were eating. So for an ACE professional, you can probably see that having that balance of nutrition and exercise is really the key. If people want to see lasting change, they have to be motivated to make that change. There's a phenomenon called the Kohler motivation gain effect, which basically means that when people are put in a group, they're more likely to adhere to the program and do better when they're in a group versus doing the program independently. So I found a study that uses this Kohler motivation gain effect in regards to exercise. So there were 2 groups of people, and they were told to exercise at 65% of their heart rate reserve. Group number 1 was called the coactive group. They were put side by side with a participant and just told to exercise independently. The other group, they were partnered up with somebody with a superior fitness level. That's also important to know. But they were told that their performance was going to be based on how long they could exercise. And sure enough, the data showed that when the person was paired up with another person of a superior fitness level, they were more motivated to continue to work out significantly longer than the people that worked out independently. So as I share with you how I run my semester class, you're going to see that there's a lot of teaming up and partner work going on. So here's an incentive to even in the exercise portion of your program to get people to work together. I just shared with you all of this great data about why we should be getting our people to do groups because it helps them, but you and I know that there are many factors that affect our clients and our members from long-term adherence. And you're probably going to look at this slide and shake your head and go, yep, that's definitely some of my clients, or maybe even yourself in some situations. So let's take a look at what is causing people to not adhere to a program. The first is a low motivational status. And we'll talk a little bit more about motivation later, but if somebody does not see the true intrinsic value in changing and they're not motivated to do so, they are not going to stick with the program. We have to get the clients to do a lot of self-reflection work so that we can start to build up that desire and that need and that want. And when that intrinsic level of motivation is high, they're going to be more likely to adhere. The next one is a lack of self-efficacy. If our clients are having a hard time adhering, they're of course not going to feel like they can do it. They don't have the confidence and they don't think that they can continue because they haven't done it long enough. So if we can build up their self-efficacy and prove to them that the changes that they're making are sustainable and that they're seeing progress, they're more likely to adhere to the program in general. The next one is prior experiences with fitness or nutrition. I want to share with you another little tidbit from my other class, a class at school called Elementary PE for the Classroom Teacher. Now, this is a class for students that are going to become first, second, or third grade teachers. This is a required course now in the state of California, and they now have to take a course that teaches them how to teach sports skills and how to bring movement into the classroom. We used to have full-time PE teachers doing that, but now, unfortunately, the classroom teacher is tasked with this. And I will tell you, on day one, there are 40 students in that desk looking at me going, I am really worried because I didn't sign up to be a PE teacher. I wanted to be a classroom teacher. And they might have had a really bad experience with PE when they were younger, and that influenced how their health habits are now. So I split the group up and I say, if you had a really good experience with PE, with physical education when you were younger, go to this side of the room. And if you had a really bad one, go to this side. And sure enough, the majority of those people in that room who don't want to be PE teachers were over here. So if you have a deeper understanding about the past experiences of your clients, you can help them navigate through those experiences and make goals that are pertinent and really realistic for them as they move forward with trying to lead a healthier life. The next one is the lack of coping skills. So you may have some clients and some participants in your class that are really good at tracking and food journaling for a couple days, and then they go on a work trip and forget it. They lose all senses because they are now eating dinner out late every night, they're having cocktails, and they feel like, well, just forget it. I have stopped now for these last 3 days, and now I'm just completely off the wagon. And they don't have the coping mechanisms to say, you know what, it's okay to do that. Plan for that, and then just when you get back home, get right back into your regular routine. Your progress doesn't have to be thrown away just because of a few days of not journaling. The next one is your adversive environmental characteristics. Maybe your participants don't have access to a gym membership regularly, or they're not living in San Diego and they can't exercise outside 12 months a year. So this could be something that is inhibiting their adherence to a program. In addition to that, you have to look at their social cues and their cultural support. What's their family like? If they grew up in a home where exercise was never valued, then as they age and progress and get to you, they're not seeing the value, and they're not used to seeing the people that are in their social network doing those things. So we have to educate them on the value of why, and then hopefully, this is what I always stress with my students, if I'm teaching you how to eat with low sugar foods, you gotta start making them at home, and your family members, of course, are gonna be like, what are you doing with that? Oh, these are things I'm learning in my class. These are things I'm learning at my gym in my 12-week program. And they're gonna create a little bit of interest and maybe a little bit of backlash at first too, but hopefully you can educate them and inspire them to make your whole family unit healthier and happier. And the last one is time barriers, right? Everybody's going to say this, whether they're a student or whether they're a member of your gym or your studio, that time restraints are one of the biggest things that inhibit them from moving into long-term adherence into nutritional programs or exercise programs. So looking at a multidisciplinary approach, considering all those factors when you're working with your clients will really help them brainstorm ways that they can overcome these factors. And the last little bit I want to talk about in this research area is this newer concept that is gaining some momentum in the public health sector. It's known as the health at every size approach. And this approach takes a weight-neutral approach to dealing with obesity and other chronic diseases. Proponents of the health at every size approach are finding value in this philosophy because they're realizing that the traditional models of weight loss programs aren't working. 30 to 40% of participants that go through a weight loss program regain the weight within a year. So this approach says, let's take the emphasis off of pounds lost and really look at more of the social cues and biases that surround somebody with obesity. In no way does the health at every size approach look at body size, body shape, or weight. Instead, if you look at the slide, you can see that it encourages a fulfilling and meaningful lifestyle through understanding internal hunger signals, satiety, and engaging in reasonable levels of physical activity. So we're looking at body acceptance, mindful eating, and exercise or physical activity for enjoyment and for health, not necessarily for elite performance or as a way to particularly sculpt the body or a body part. So this is a newer content with a little bit of research out there, but I did want to share with you because it is positive. In a study that looked at the health at every size approach group, and they compared them to a group that was in a traditional diet weight loss program, the people in the HAES group, the BMI did not predict the women's body appreciation, but their acceptance of their body by significant others and society did. So taking an emphasis again off of pounds lost and a number of a BMI on a chart, and really looking at accepting our body weight and what we're capable of doing in our body weight. And the next one looked at the health at every size group. These members maintained their weight and improved their metabolic fitness, their energy expenditure, their eating behavior, and their psychology. And these improvements were sustained compared with a diet group at 1 year. And I just said, if we're having a hard time getting people to keep the weight off, then it might be valuable to apply some of these strategies so that it's not necessarily all about pounds, but it's more about holistic health and healthy behaviors. Now you'll see as we move through this course, you'll see that I kind of bridge both of these areas, the traditional models, and I also use some of these concepts from the health at every size approach. We're going to start to look at how do we create meaningful lessons for our program. Now you'll see on this slide that I have this broken up into 3 months. That's simply because my semester is 3 months long. You can do this as a 12-week program, an 8-week program. This is all just a generic template for you to start to get your brain rolling on things that you can add and create that's unique to your situation. So every month, I kind of target 2 major areas with my students. And not to say that we never talk about those topics in the next 2 months, but there's definitely overlap, but there's an emphasis on key components every month. And in month number 1, you can see on the slide, we look at the roles of macronutrients, nutrient timing, mindful eating, trends in dieting, intermittent fasting, and exercise guidelines. So basically, they come in really excited in month number 1. They want to change their nutrition. They want to exercise more. So that's really the 2 major areas that we're going to focus on. And then in month 2, we move more of the content over to sleep and time management. And then in month 3, relationships and stress. And again, it's not that we never again talk about nutrition and exercise. We're exercising the entire semester, but all of the journaling and the self-reflecting and the homework that they're doing is based in those particular months around those topics. Let's take a look at assessment tools. So I believe that having some metrics and some data is really important, and it really excites and gets people engaged in the program to see some changes in data. So I, with my students, do a body composition at the very beginning and then again at the end of the semester. And this body composition assessment is particularly for us. We use the InBody. It's a bioimpedance calculator. Now, she's using one in the picture there that's a handheld device. The InBody is a little bit more specific and more expensive. So it really just depends on what you and your facility can afford. Here in San Diego, we also have hydrostatic weighing trucks that come to different studios. So these are great to offer a dunk in the tank at the beginning and at the end to get those metrics. There's a 3D scanner available now. So there's a lot of great content for a moderate price. So if you don't have anything now, maybe you look at this as part of what you want to bring into your program. But at least some type of body composition. And then next we look at the physical assessments. Cardiovascular first. You can have your clients do a mile walk, run, maybe even a half mile, and you can have them do it for time to calculate how long it took them to do it. Or if you're going to be using heart rate monitoring systems during your program, then this is the ideal time to get the baseline data about their heart rate. And then finally, we look at the second component of our physical assessments, the strength and the muscular endurance and the flexibility. Traditional models like the push-up test, the body weight squat, the curl-up test, those are great. If you feel comfortable doing a little bit more extensive work on analyzing full kinetic chain, then exercises or tests like the quadruped position, looking at the lumbar stability, looking at the mobility of the hip and the thoracic spine, doing pelvic tilt progressions or glute bridging, or even moving up the kinetic chain further and looking at the scapulothoracic region, seeing how clients can pack the shoulders, how they can rotate the shoulders. Those are just like a little bit of a higher level assessment. And if you're interested in learning more about those, you can check your ACE Personal Trainer manual. So again, these are just things that are available to you, but again, do what feels good for you and what you feel comfortable in instructing. Moving out of the physical, let's look at more of the behavioral side of assessing the clients. So I did a little variation on the wheel of life here. And you can see on the screen that in this wheel, we have the components in which I teach, the content areas, I should say. So there's the nutrition and the exercise that happen in month 1, the sleep and the time management that happen in month 2, and the stress and the relationships that happen in 3. Well, we got to fill this circle out. So for me, I just put the other elements of school and career because these are areas that we talk about obviously all semester, and they correlate over each other quite frequently. You can see how a career would impact your stress and would impact your time management when you're also trying to be a student, in my case with my students. So we definitely hit those topics. It's not necessarily things that I lecture on, but they definitely are taken into account when we set our monthly goals. So how does the wheel work? So you're going to ask your participants to rate themselves on a scale of 0 to 10. And 0, if you look at the slide, 0 is at the middle, and 10 is at the further end of the circle. So they would rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 10 for each of these areas, where they are currently. And 0 means that they put 0 time and commitment into this content area. 10 is the opposite. They are consumed by this. And that might not be a good thing, or it may be a good thing. So you have them plot their points, and then they can get a little graph by connecting the dots, and they can see where their areas of strengths are, where they're putting a lot of their time, and where there's gaps and where there can be improvements in time. The next thing that you look at, though, you ask the clients, so now that you see where you are, where do you want to go? So you'll have them plot, ideally, how much time or how much commitment they would like in all of those categories, and then they'd replot those points. And this helps us, we're going to talk a little bit later about motivation and why, but this is a good area to reflect on when writing why statements, because we can see that there's areas of disconnect and where they want to improve. And you can obviously modify that however you need with the content that you're putting in to your program. Let's look at different forms. So now you can see there's the PAR-Q on your slide, and that's a basic questionnaire for every participant that should come through your door. The next thing I have my students do every month, they do a decisional balance worksheet, which is basically a pro or con worksheet. And they look at why they should change and why they shouldn't change in all of those 8 different content areas. And then the last part of that decisional balance worksheet, we start to consider some strategies that they can overcome all of the cons. So my students actually do this 3 times during the semester, once at the beginning of every month. The next sheet is the lifestyle and health history questionnaire. This is something that they're going to do at home and bring back to you. And it's a pretty thorough questionnaire, and you'll get a really good snapshot of past habits and what they're currently doing in regards to nutrition, as well as habits and physical activity. So they'll do that at home, then they bring it to you, and then you have to do a little bit of homework. You analyze all the data on those sheets, and you start to think about who you can be pairing up in your program. We want to pair people that have similar goals and that are struggling through the same kind of thing and have the same habits, so that they can bounce ideas off of each other and use each other as a sounding board and a motivational tool. Remember all that research to help them as they navigate the next 3 months. I also spend some time creating tools that my students will use to self-reflect. This is really important. This is the homework that needs to be done so that we can start to see where habits are now. People might say, yes, I don't eat that well, but we really need to know in depth, what are you eating? So this is a buy-in that can really separate your workshop or your course and your program from somebody else's, right? That you're putting in this extra homework and attention so that they're really valuing themselves and deciding why this is of importance to them. So I have my students do a sleep journal for 7 days. And this is actually a papered journal with several things that they need to monitor. They look at how they feel when they wake up. They document how many hours of sleep they got, if they woke up in the middle of the night, and why, how long were they awake, what are their habits that they're doing before bed, are they drinking caffeine during the day? So there's a lot of circling and filling out of the form that they do every day. And then we take that data the next week and we analyze it. And then we use that to help set our goals for the next coming week on things that we can be changing. I also have them do food journals in 2 different ways. At the very beginning, they're doing a food journal where they're simply counting calories. They're using an app, they're old school and writing it down in a journal, but they're going to keep track of everything they eat for 7 days. And then we look at that and we get the data about their macronutrients and all of that stuff. And then the following week, I kind of flip it and I say, don't worry at all about the number of calories you're eating. Now I want you to be mindful and track when you're when you are eating, are you anxious? Are you happy? Are you nervous? Are you bored? Where are you when you're eating? Are you in your car? Are you sitting at your kitchen table but the computer is right next to you? Are you eating because you're physically hungry and you can feel it in your stomach? Or are you eating because you're emotional? So this is something that the trackers, like a lot of the apps out there don't have. So this is something that I create in my own template, and they use that template, they keep that with them as they're eating for the week. And then we have two different data systems that they can compare and figure out what really works for them. This is what it comes down to. They're not going to do something if they don't like it, if they're annoyed by it, if it's too time consuming. So what I want to do is present them with these options and get them to do it for just a little bit, and then hopefully they can decide, oh yeah, you know what? Keeping the journal where I'm actually tracking my food is really important to me. I realize that I don't eat nearly as much, or my consumption of fat is way too high, and that's what I want to work on, and the only way I'm going to figure out how to get it down is if I monitor it. If that works for them, great. But your job is to just present them with that. And then the other tool that I have them do is a sitting journal. My students are a lot of them are crossing the border from Mexico, so they're sitting in their cars for up to 2 hours to just get to school. And then guess what? They're sitting all day long in class, and then they're going back across the border. And I'm sure your clients sitting in their cars, working in an office, would fit a similar profile. Now, this is not a 7-day. This is a pretty intensive tracking, so I only have them do it for 1 day, and I have them do it for a day when they are working or when they're at school. So I give them a sheet of paper, and it basically has them track minute by minute whether they are seated or standing and moving. And they calculate their time from the beginning of the day all the way through the end of the day. And then we take the percentage and we look at what percent of the day was spent seated. And I'll tell you about an average, I'd say at least 70 to 75% of their day, of my students' day, is spent seated. So this might influence and spark something and motivate them when they start to set their goals around exercise, to say, okay, you know what, I might not make it to the gym 5 days a week, but I can definitely spend 10 minutes of my break in between a class walking around campus instead of pulling out my phone and just sitting there and plugging away. So again, it's all about getting the clients to track their behaviors so that we can really start to analyze where the improvements can be. The other thing is apps. I don't force my students to use paid ones, but if that's something that you want to offer your members, then you can add that into your programming. The Zero app, and I know there's a lot of apps out there, so I'm going to mention some ones that maybe you don't know. The Zero app is an app around intermittent fasting, created by one of the top researchers based here in San Diego around intermittent fasting and your circadian rhythm. So if you are discussing intermittent fasting and you have participants that are interested in trying that app is great. If your participants are struggling with time management, which I think every single person would be nodding their head yes, and we're finding that we are spending too much time on our digital devices. These next two apps are great. The Space app basically gives you a little questionnaire about your using habits of your phone, and then it blocks your phone during certain times. And you get little points and rewards for not trying to open your phone during those times. If you are an extreme cell phone user and you really feel like it is impeding your progress and affecting areas of your life negatively, then you can opt for the more advanced one, which is the Off the Grid, which does a similar questionnaire, blocks your phone, but if you try to open it, it actually charges you $1. So that's a pretty big incentive to get into that device. The last app is the Sleep Cycle app. Now, I'd have my students use that in addition to the paper app. What you'll find is all of these apps, and I should maybe create one, but they never have everything that you want in one. So I wanted all the data from the paper, but I also found some value in the Sleep Cycle app. The free version is what my students were using, but you can pay for another higher end one. And it gives you a percentage of your sleep quality during the night. It uses your microphone from your phone to track if you're snoring. So there's some good data that can be held from even a free app, with upgrades, of course, as needed if you want or if your clients value that. So now we're going to talk about how we can start to cultivate some health coaching skills in our group. Maybe you're new to this group environment and you're used to working one-on-one as a health coach. So hopefully this template will give you an idea of some exact measures that you can take to start being more comfortable and working in that group setting. The first is to provide a calendar. So my class is 3 months. I give them a calendar at the beginning of every single month. So one for September this semester, October, and November. In September, when we were focusing on our exercise and our nutrition, I had them flip the calendar over and give me a strong why statement. Intrinsically, why do they value changing this particular habit? What do they get out of it? And the intrinsic motivation is really key. Something extrinsic, like something tangible, like just to fit into a pair of jeans, yes, that may happen. You may get into the jeans, but remember, we're looking for long term. So if we want long-term adherence and sustainability, it needs to come from within. So letting your clients reflect back on all of the wheel of life, all of the work that they did on that, and then analyzing their current situation and putting some value into why they want to change. Then we discuss 1 month goals. So 1 month goal around nutrition and a 1 month goal around exercise. So if the big goal was to eat more vegetables for the month, that's a pretty broad goal. We don't really know what more means. We need to teach them SMART goal setting, which I'm sure you all know of. SMART goal setting, and we're going to start with a smaller goal at the very beginning of the month. So an actionable step that they can do in the first week. So on their calendar, they would write their goal for nutrition and their goal for exercise. So I coach them through creating that SMART goal. For example, maybe the nutritional one says that they want to increase their green juice intake. It's not something that they might do every day, but they say, what's realistic? I can do that maybe 3 mornings a week. Okay, great. So we pull out the calendar and they write down green drink on Monday and Wednesday and Friday. And then we talk about their exercise goals. Okay, I'd like to walk my dog for 15 minutes, 7 days a week. Then we take the calendar and we write walk dog, walk dog, walk dog across the whole week. And they keep track of their calendar at the end of every night. They look back and they say, did I accomplish my goal for the day? And then they keep that journal or that calendar with them and they bring it to class the following week. And this is where we start the discussion between our group members. They have that calendar with all their data, and now we bring them together with another classmate or participant to talk about it. So I'm going to bring Jackie on, and we're going to do this live. Welcome back.
Hello, thank you. So we're pretending we are in our class, right?
We are.
Okay, great.
And Jackie had mentioned to me earlier that she was wanting to work on her sleep habits. So let's put nutrition and exercise aside and jump as if we were in month 2 in my class. And why don't you share with everybody why you wanted this to work on this topic?
Right. So as we all know, sleep is very important. And I feel like I could probably use, like many other people, a little bit better sleep, a little more sleep.
Yep.
I tend to think that I need a little bit more than maybe the average person. So I would like to do a little bit more to become a little bit more consistent with my sleep habits. And so I've been working on that and getting like a little bit more of a good pattern down so that I can get to bed at a better time and maybe I'm not on my phone as much.
Okay, so that's good insight. So you'll see that I have a clipboard in my hand And I'm going to pop this slide up here where you can see these are the questions that I'm going to be asking Jackie. This is an important thing because we're pairing up participants. We're not pairing up health coaches. So they need something to prompt this discussion. So I'm going to walk Jackie through these questions and we're going to learn a little bit more about her habits, okay? Now you'll see the first question actually doesn't even mention the sleep or anything about her goal. We just want to start this conversation off on a good note. So I'm just going to simply ask Jackie, hey, what was the best thing that happened to you this week?
Something great that happened this week was I was able to take some time and kind of purge a few things, right? This is sort of the season where we want to kind of clean things out with the old, in with the new, and I had an opportunity to do that, and so that feels really good to me to be able to start fresh.
Yes, you look energized and rejuvenated. Yes. Excellent. Okay, so now in regard to your goal that you worked on this past week, maybe you can share, and she can show the calendar to me. What was something that you learned about yourself during this trial? Share with them what your actual goal was for the week, and then share with me something that you learned about yourself.
Okay, so my goal actually was to, in order to get a little bit better sleep and go to sleep at a more reasonable time and maybe get to sleep faster, was I was going to plan to take my phone kind of away from where I sleep. So usually I would plug my phone in to charge it like we all do at night, right?
I know where this is going.
So I wanted to move the charger away from my bed where I have to lay down and then I'm maybe playing on the phone a little bit too long. So I moved the charger away from that and kind of put it across the room so that I couldn't get to it while I was trying to go to sleep.
Okay.
So something I learned was that it was a little bit harder to sort of plug it in and walk away, but once I did, I was able to get to sleep better. And so it actually did work really well.
Great, okay. Were there any obstacles or barriers that occurred during the week when trying to implement this?
Yeah, I think maybe one of the obstacles was really just kind of leaving it, right? We all spend a lot of time on our phones, and so if you have it with you all the time, putting it down and kind of putting it out of mind just initially was a little bit challenging. But once I did, like I said, once it was out of sight, out of mind, and I was able to climb into bed, it worked really well and was maybe a little bit easier than I thought to kind of leave it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. And then what changes would you like to make so that you can continue to be successful with that goal? So we're going to see. I'm going to ask her about another goal for this week, but let's continue with this one. What do you have to do to be successful again?
I think it's been working pretty well. So I've literally moved the charger away from where my bed is. So as long as the charger isn't plugged in next to where I sleep, if it stays across the room, then I think I'm in a good place to just keep doing that. There's now maybe a cue for me to go, I have to plug it in over there, and then that's it.
Great.
Just leaving the charger there is good.
How important is it to you to continue with this healthy habit?
Pretty important. It's pretty high up there. I would say if, like I said, I want to get more sleep, and I think I need more sleep than maybe most people, and so it's pretty high on the list, maybe like an 8 out of 10.
Okay. So stay here. So basically at this point, I would then be working with the students on moving into week number 2's goal. So what was working, we're going to keep that going, but now I want to see if Jackie can add something even more into that sleep routine that's going to enhance her quality of sleep. So what do you think would be another goal that you can add in a small actionable step that you can do this week that can make your sleep even better?
Well, sometimes I do this actually when I wake up, but I've been thinking maybe I could do it before I go to sleep. I like to stretch and kind of wind down physically a little bit, and I think that if I plug the phone in, that's maybe could be a signal to me to now it's time to stretch for a few minutes.
Great, okay.
Before I climb into bed.
Excellent. And do you have the mat and roller near that device? Even
yeah, it's
better.
all kind of
Okay.
in the same room, but the charger is across the room.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. How confident are you that you would be able to add this in? And how many days a week realistically do you think that you could do this?
Well, I think it would be kind of a new thing. Like I said, I do sometimes in the morning, maybe 2 to 3 days a week. So maybe starting with like 1 or 2 days the first few weeks and see how it goes.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. And you think you're on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that you would stick to those 2 to 3 days?
I think pretty confident. I think the trigger is there, the cue is there for me to plug the phone in and then do the stretching for a few minutes. And so probably a 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she gave it an importance level, if you recall earlier, of a higher number. I think it was a 9 or a 10, if I believe.
Yeah,
right?
maybe 8 or 9.
Yeah, okay. And now this one is a little bit lower. So why are you at a 7 and not a 6?
Okay, so, well, I think, like I said, it's important to me to get a lot of sleep and make sure that sleep is quality sleep. So I think I'm a 7 and not a 6, maybe because it is higher importance to me, and I really want to, try and
Sleep
make
better,
it, make
yeah.
a good go at it. Yeah.
Okay, so I would say when Jackie presented the 8, that's a go. If she's still wandering around the 7, we might look at maybe pulling back and just starting at 1 day a week.
Okay.
Because that's not, we don't want to set Jackie up for failure, right? And give her a task that is not going to happen. It's going to be pretty bad next week to come back to me. You're going to feel like, oh, I'm going to check in with Angel and I'm going to say, I didn't do it. So we want to make sure that the clients can have a good level of success. So if anything below 8, you might want to have a little bit more of a conversation. Encourage your group members to ask you for questions because they're working one-on-one here,
Right.
and you're kind of supervising things. So if that number's too low and they can't figure out something themselves to brainstorm another strategy, then hey, come over, Angel, help us.
Yeah,
That's what
okay.
you're there for.
Okay, great. That sounds good.
All right. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Yes.
I hope that was helpful to see. So now we're going to move into the last portion, which is actually designing our exercise program. And again, these are just templates and these are just general factors and concepts to consider. It is not something that you need to do, but this I think can kind of help wrap your brain around where you want to take your program. So how many participants do you need in your program to A, make money, and to B, make it successful and in the space that you have provided, where do you see your workouts going, how much equipment do you have, all of that needs to be taken into consideration. And the next thing is how long. I've been giving you examples of a 3-month program, but that might be too long for you. So again, you'll have to kind of brainstorm with your staff and the members in your organization and see what they would like to do as well. How many sessions will they have a week? My class meets 2 times a week, but you'll see on the template that I've created, that's a 3-day-a-week workshop or program. Will they track their food and will they track their workouts? How often will you do assessments? I'm going to say at least pre and post, and you decide if there's anything in the middle of value. And what exercises will you teach and what equipment will be utilized? So let's go ahead and take a look at this chart so you can get an idea of a 3-day workout, 3-day program. In day number 1, this would be the day where you work on all of your cognitive and behavioral coaching. So this is what we'll call the lecture part. And then on day 2 and day 3, you would be doing all exercise. And again, these can correlate to the time frame. If you have 60 minutes, I would recommend at least 10 minutes for your stability and mobility in day 2. And then you can move into intervals. So I have a 1-to-1 ratio written here, meaning you'd set up various stations around your room because you have limited space. Okay, this one is for limited small groups and limited equipment. So you might have a jump rope over here, a BOSU over here, and you're going to have the participants do an interval at higher intensity for 1 minute, and then they have 1 minute off where they move to the next station. So they would do that for X amount of time. If you have an hour, maybe that's about 20 minutes or so. And then they move into a very similar pattern for the strength training, where you just move different equipment and it's a set of dumbbells over there, a body bar, a resistance band. And they do 1 minute intervals for full body work around those stations. Day 3, you approach it a little differently. You still have that dynamic warm up, and then you move into more moderate intensity, steady state work. Now, if the group is smaller and you don't have a lot of equipment, you don't have a lot of treadmills in your facility, this might be going outside and just taking a moderate intensity jog or run for X amount of minutes, while you, the trainer, work with the other half of the group doing some full body strength training in your small setting when you're leading it. So not necessarily stations, but a designed workout that you're guiding them through every exercise, and they're doing it together. And then we can totally switch modes and look at if you have a really large group with a lot of equipment. Years ago, I used to work for Lifetime Fitness, and they had a 3-month program, a weight management program, that was very similar to my class. They did a lot of reflection work, they had journals, they were recording things, and then they exercised every time they met as well. So in this case, you would have your 1 day of your lecture, and then day 2, you'd have your participants working as a group because you have enough equipment for everybody at once. So the instructor would guide the participants through intervals on the treadmill. And those intervals were in duration from 1 to 3 minutes, take a break, do another interval, take a break, and they would spend about 20 minutes or so doing those intervals. And then everybody would step off the treadmill and they would get a resistance band, they'd get dumbbells, and they would do a strength training workout together. And sometimes they'd even hook the bands around the treadmill and do rows and chest flies and kind of stay in the same space, or they would use a separate training area. And then on the 3rd day, we still take that same dynamic warm-up approach, but now we're looking at splitting the groups and having our cardio group on the treadmill, monitoring their heart rate, monitoring their exertion, doing moderate, steady state work for X amount of time, and then you, the trainer, working with the participants in the floor space, doing some type of full body strength training routine. So these are just, again, 2 options for 3 days. Yours might be 2 days. You're gonna have to decide how you roll. If you are gonna put people in slotted times that they have to come to, or if you're going to make it flexible, maybe they have to come to the lecture part on a certain day, but they can come to your studio and take classes anytime and get points. It's completely up to you. I just wanted to share with you all of the different ways and kind of hopefully spark some interest and get the wheels turning on how you can enhance the programs that you're already doing. You'll see on the next 2 slides the references of all of the things that I talked about in today's webinar. And Jackie's going to come back on and give you a little bit more info. Thank you so much for watching and for taking the time to better yourself as an ACE Pro.
Thanks, Angel.
Yes.
Great job. Thank
Thanks.
you very much for joining us today. So as you can see on your slide, we'll just take a moment to look at these references here for just a second. So we did talk, and Angel, you mentioned a lot of different studies and research towards the beginning today. So these references are very important if you want to learn a little bit more about where this information is coming from, and if you want to dig a little bit deeper, there's some great information there, and these will be provided in the recorded version of this course. And you can also go back in your viewer and take a look at these slides anytime as well. So that will bring us to the end of today's presentation, but just a few more notes before we take some questions with Angel. So if you would like to get in touch with her, if you do have some more questions after we're over today, you can get in touch with Angel at her contact information that you can see on your slide. And also, Angel, if it's okay with you, can we do a live, live Facebook chat?
Yes, please question us.
Great. So that is live on our Facebook page right now. And if after we're done today, you have some other questions, questions, you can visit our ACE Fitness Facebook page and type in your question there, and we'll get back to those. Angel will be checking those over the next couple of days. So if you do have some questions, go ahead and type those in to our YouTube viewer right now, and we'll take those in just a minute or so. In the meantime, take a look at your slide, and if you liked today's information, if you want to learn more and you'd like to earn some more CECs around the area of health coaching, how to help your clients with behavior change, we have a lot of great courses that ACE offers that are provided on your screen. And we also have something brand new that we're excited to announce, which you can see here is our new CEC Club. And this is an opportunity for you to earn unlimited CECs for an entire year. You may have seen it already on our website, but that is for one price that you can purchase. You can do it monthly, or you can do it for the year and earn unlimited CECs. So great opportunity to earn some more continuing education and keep your learning and growing in this field. So let's go ahead and take a few questions from our viewers today. We had a lot of good questions come through, so thank you all for typing those in. And Laura, thank you for typing your question in. Laura had some good questions about how you can help your clients or the people that you're working with in your groups kind of integrate their families a little bit into this.
Yes.
So you mentioned, you're doing these conversations within your group, but maybe talk a little bit about how they can maybe intrigue their family members, because we know that's an important thing, right?
Absolutely, yes. Getting the family members to respect your desire to change is really a key component to that adherence.
Yeah.
So I would recommend when they start setting their goals, having something like to trigger them to think about, how can my family members help me? And how might they inhibit me?
Okay.
We need to be real, right, about what our habits are currently going on in our house. So, and present that to your family and say, here's what I'm working on. I vested some money into this program. I've registered for a college class, and I find value in improving these areas, and I need your help.
Yeah.
So then you can maybe coordinate and make the goals collaboratively.
Okay.
You might have them come up with some goals, with you in the facility, but then they go home and it's not going to jive as well as they thought.
Right.
So being open to discussion and really presenting it as an opportunity for the whole family to experience this. I mean, with my students, they're first generation to be going to college.
Right.
It is valuable information to be sending home with them. And that's what I keep saying, empower them, share, share, share. And when they see you making those changes in your habits, they're gonna be more likely to adhere. You might get a little bit of,
pushback
at the very beginning, of course, with some things, but if your loved ones really care about you, then hopefully they'd buy in as well.
Great. So we have another question here from Julie. Julie, thank you for your question. And I think this is probably something that resonates with a lot of people that may be watching today if they are certified health coaches. So maybe they're certified health coaches and not personal trainers or not group fitness instructors.
Yes.
So kind of the movement and exercise part is a little bit out of their skill set, perhaps. So how can you, as a health coach, kind of integrate some of the movement stuff in if that's not really your bag?
Yeah, that depends on really your situation, right? If you're a health coach, you can move all of this into this higher level of content in a group setting and not really train in a actual space.
Right.
You can give them the guidelines of, hey, I want you to get in 2 hours of cardio this week. What's the week look like for you? So you could spend your time helping coach them through that, and then they actually just deliver it or do it, execute it on their own. Yeah.
Great. And then you mentioned something earlier about kind of the cost of this and the money factor, right? The financial impact of this. And so could potentially, as a health coach, say I'm a certified health coach, you're a fitness professional that I know, could we team up on this?
Absolutely, yes. And I think this is, as an ACE professional, having multiple certifications is clutch because you can do it yourself. You have the skill set to health coach, to train. But if you don't have those multiple certs, find like-minded professionals that you look to in your city and team up, because this group approach is becoming more and more popular, and we saw the research that it's working. So, brainstorm with each other on how you can collaborate and make it monetarily beneficial for everybody.
Right, beneficial for both the professionals and the groups.
Yep.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you very much. So a lot of other questions coming in. If you do have more, please visit our ACE Fitness Facebook page, and also you have Angel's contact information. You can contact her as well. If you would like to receive CECs for today's presentation, take a look at your slide and you can see the video there, how to find this course once it is live on our site within the next 48 hours. You will go to our purchase page for live webinars, and once that webinar goes into your ACE account, you'll receive the recorded version along with a quiz, and once you pass the quiz, you'll receive 0.1 CECs within your My ACE account. And make sure to join us again next month for our next live webinar. We will be joined by Kevin Murray, another expert in the area of behavior change, who will be talking with us about how to coach clients with chronic pain. So something that you can use the information, Angel, that you presented today, and then maybe a little bit more information from Kevin next month to work with those clients. So thank you again for joining us. Remember to connect with ACE in a variety of ways and let us know what you thought of today's presentation. Go join our Facebook chat and have Angel answer a few more questions for you. Thanks for joining us today.
Yes, thank you, and thanks for watching again.
Thank you, everyone. Let's get people moving.